Not enough. I'm gonna eat all this. There's more here. Not enough. 안녕하세요 from Korea. Welcome to next matchup. Today we're cooking Saebalnamul Muchim. Saebalnamul is this one. It is a spring green. It's sort of a type of sand slurry. It's known for its beautiful crunchy texture and its ability sort of to be eaten raw. It's absolutely delicious uncooked, just the way it is. Of course, we're going to wash it first. And we're going to put an easy and simple sauce with it that anyone can make in a few minutes. Let's begin. This is a really great spring dish. That's when the Saebalnamul is most readily available in Korea. In addition, there's a few other Korean spring sort of namuls or spring greens that I'm going to be cooking on my channel. So keep an eye out for those in the next coming weeks. Every week I post a new Korean dish on the channel. I've lived in Korea for nearly half my life, so there's a fair few dishes that I know about and I can't wait to share them with you guys. Now let's get back to this Saebalnamul. And we need to wash it. Of course, chop up our onions at some point of the process to get them ready. Make sure you wash this well. I do 3 times washing, so fill it with water, give it a wash, rinse the water, and then just do it again and again. Then give it a really good dry. That's very important because we're going to be mixing these ingredients with, we've got soy sauce, sugar, and things like that. And you don't want it too runny. You want it to be not a thick sauce, but a sauce that's going to stick to everything well. So really the final part of everything, once you've dried it properly, is to put all the ingredients in a bowl together and mix them up. So let's just do that. So you can see me doing it there on screen. We've got soy sauce, we've got a bit of sugar, sesame oil, we've got some Minced, that's the one I'm showing you right there. That's going to add some sweetness. That's Plum Extract, but it's a type of Korean green plum that's very common here in Korea. That's the Minced. Now when you're mixing this up, you want to be careful. You don't want to break it or crush it. You want it to keep its freshness and its firmness. So mix it up slowly. Don't crush everything into one. And as you just go through, you'll just see it spreads out. It gets redder and redder as it goes. Delicious. Perfect. Coating everything in that beautiful tangy sauce. So this sauce, like I mentioned at the start of the video, can be used for a range of things. You can put this on other types of greens and test out what works well with it. It goes very well with fresh ingredients. So things like cucumbers, like this one, like stone namu, which I've cooked before. It just goes very well with those ones in particular. Now that the dish is done, why don't we see how it tastes, and I'll tell you more about it now. Ooh. Alright, let's see how this tastes. I can eat all this. There's more here. Not enough. 안녕하세요 from Korea. Welcome to next matchup. Today we're cooking Naengi Doenjangguk. Naengi is this, it's shepherd's purse. Doenjang is soybean paste. I've got it right here. And then guk means soup. So Naengi soybean paste soup is what we're making. We do take this as the star of the show, which is Naengi. It's got a beautiful sort of hearty spring flavor to it. So this is the ultimate spring dish in my opinion. If you love sort of vegetarian options, then this is the perfect dish. Though of course you could add meat if you really wanted, and I'm using anchovies to help make the base. If you really don't want to use anchovies, you can take those out. You'll still get a perfectly fine base without these anchovies or the anchovy stock that I'll also be adding. Let's begin. This dish is perfect because of how versatile you can be with the ingredients. There's almost any mix of vegetable that you can put in depending on what's available to you. Though like I said, it is a spring dish, so try to use spring vegetables. For instance, I'm using these button mushrooms. Now normally in Korea we don't use these mushrooms with doenjang, but one, they're in sale so they were available, and two, they cut up very well and they go perfectly with this dish because of the sort of different flavor they bring to it. But of course you could use other mushrooms instead. Though if you do use mushrooms like pengi boso, which is like these thin ones, you're going to put it in later. Whereas these ones we're going to actually fry off first, which you're about to see. So since we're using bigger mushrooms, take them, get your pan ready, and we're frying the mushrooms in a bit of salt and a little bit of oil as well. What this is going to do is also coat the pan with a little bit of sort of mushroom pieces, which we're going to use for our stock. So as it cooks down for about 5 minutes, maybe a little longer if you want. If you have time, you can always cook them a little longer, get more flavor out of your mushroom. Now in the pan there's going to be a lot of sort of flavor on there. We want to keep that there. Then take your mushrooms out of the pan when they're done and just set them to the side. We'll return them to the soup later. Fry up your anchovies in the same pan and don't wash the pan. All that mushroom is going to be in there, so give them a quick fry, make sure you're not burning anything. And then when they're fried off, to get rid of that sort of anchovy smell, add your water and your stock ingredients. What you put in is up to you. I'm putting in a bunch of leftovers. If I had to do it again, I'd also add some spring onion perhaps, but I didn't have any lying around. For your shepherd's purse, the main thing for preparing it is to give it a good wash. It's quite gritty and there's often bits of dirt that get stuck everywhere, so you really want to give it a good wash. So the main part first though is give it a wash and then add a little bit of salt to it and let it sit and rest for a while before you give it a second wash. And you've got to be really careful. You can see a lot of the pieces of naengi sort of leaves are slowly coming off, so do be very soft with it, not too hard as you're washing it. Try to use your hands to get each individual root a quick rub down with your fingers. I'm also adding tofu. I feel like you can't have we're gonna have doenjang, the soybean paste and stew. You really have to add tofu. I just find it adds so much, it adds a lot of volume to the dish and you can get a lot out of it, and it sucks in all that delicious flavor as well. Tofu is just the perfect ingredient for this. Just cut it up into cubes, it's pretty easy. We'll put that in later. Now, after a wee while, probably 30 to 40 minutes of boiling our yuksu or our stock, we're ready. Ooh, look at that. That is full of flavor and it's going to give it a good base. I mean, you could do this with just water if you want to skip this step, or use a stock bag. Those are often used in Korea, just a quick stock bag to throw in your soup. But I find to make it myself, I love doing it this way. But you can save a lot of time by just using, pre-prepared stock. So here's what I mentioned about our naengi earlier. We're going to wash it again and get right in there. Get your fingers in there, rub down a couple of them. Just really check for any bits of dirt and sort of also maybe some not rotten but softer pieces of naengi that you might need to remove. So there's the stockings. Look at the beautiful color of that. That is absolutely delicious and full of flavor, as I always say. Get the mushrooms, garlic, and a bit of anchovy stock. I'm not going to use too much because I can add more later if I want. We don't use soy sauce because we want to maintain a bit of that browner color, and if you add soy sauce in, it'll darken it too much. Now here's the fun part. Mix in your soybean paste and a little bit of red pepper paste. You can skip the red pepper paste if you want because you don't need to add red pepper, but I think you'll find that it adds a nice sort of extra level of flavor and it doesn't make it spicy. That much red pepper paste is not going to make it into some sort of spicy curry dish, so don't worry. At this stage you need to taste it. It could be either too salty or even have a little bit too much doenjang depending on your taste. If that's the case, add a bit of water, so I've done that there. Of course, if you feel like it's too bland, you can add a bit of salt or just boil it down a little bit further. Now we can add our naengi and we're going to cut it up. You could cut the naengi up earlier if you want, but if you have a pair of kitchen scissors, they're fantastic for just throwing it in the pot and then cutting. And 10 minutes of boiling is all you need really, and look at that, beautiful. This is perfect. Naengi holds its shape really well, so even if you have it the next day, it's not going to be all mushy and, like gross is not the right word, but it's going to be sort of still crunchy, and it's still going to have this beautiful, little bit harder texture to it. So look at that. Oh yes, this is absolutely beautiful, and the smell coming from this is amazing. It really does have a very distinctive flavor that just goes so well with soybean, and it just reminds you of waking up on those early spring mornings. There's a bit of sort of dew on the grass, and it's not hot in the morning, it's still a bit chilly. Oh, this is amazing. Alright, hope you enjoyed that. We're going to eat this dish, so stick around and let's see how this thing tastes. Annyeonghaseyo from Korea. Welcome to Next Matchup. Today we're cooking with this. It's called Dureup. Dureup is a spring vegetable here, or a spring sprout. It comes from the Aralia, or it's often called Fatsia sprout. Now I've never actually cooked this before, so I can't wait to see how we cook it. I know that I'm going to be blanching it and then making a sort of gochujang or red pepper type of sauce to put with it. This thing, I don't know what we're going to do here. It's got these spikes on it. You can see just there. Ooh. And this one even has, it even has spikes running through here. So I think I have to take those off. So I'm going to figure out how to do that. I think we'll just get a knife and we'll cut it and then try to take off the spikes. I think that's probably the first step. We'll try that out. Okay, look at this one here. We've got, try this. Looks like that when you cut that off. Here, cut more. Oh, perfect. Uh-oh. Okay, maybe too perfect. Up. Ow. You need a smaller blade, and run it like this. Get these spikes off. Ooh, ow. Ooh, looks good. All right, easy. Now I might be cooking Dureup for the first time, but it's not the first time I've made this sauce. It's a very versatile sauce that you can use for dipping, especially with things like blanched broccoli or even a little bit of raw fish. You can use something similar for both of those things and it'll taste great. So give it a good mix up, make sure it's nice and red. It should be that beautiful red color. And of course taste it a little bit, just to ensure you've got the right mix of ingredients. Adjust it to your taste. If you don't want it too sugary, just take out the sugar. Use something else instead, or use a little bit of sugar and you should be fine. Now we need to blanch these. The trick with this is to check the size, because if you've got bigger pieces of Dureup, then it'll need to blanch a little bit longer and then a little bit smaller if they're smaller pieces like mine. So about 90 seconds to 120 seconds depending. Make sure they go straight into some cold water or give them a quick rinse, and that way they'll be nice and cooled off, because you don't want them to keep cooking while they're sitting there and cooling down. And then dry them well. Take a little bit of time, give it a really good dry, shake them off, maybe pat them down with a towel if you need, and then you can serve. And there we go, we've got our sauce. I'm going to put a little bit of sauce on there, as well as some sesame seeds. The sesame seeds go really well with this, they go with that sauce. And of course I'm plating it up to make it look beautiful, but you can just put this to the side and people can dip it in it as they see fit. Alright, let's see how this tastes. It's going to be my first time eating this. Okay, let's eat this spiky little thing. Alright, let's try this Dureup. It's my first time eating this, so let's see how it goes. That's actually really good. It's seem like I'm always saying this, but I'm trying a lot of new ingredients this year on Next Matchup, and this is one of them. So there we have it. A new ingredient for me. I can't wait to use it again in the kitchen, and it's springtime at the moment, so this weekend I might go pick up some more of this and see what I can cook up. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and 안녕히 계세요. See ya! Look at this one. 안녕하세요 from Korea. Welcome to Next Matchup. Today we're cooking with Chwinamul. This is Chwinamul. Chwinamul is a spring green grown in Korea, and surprise, surprise, it's commonly found around springtime. So we're going to use this to make two dishes. The first dish is called Chwinamul Bokkeum. We're going to cook this up and we're actually going to fry it. Bokkeum means fry. So it's a stir-fried dish using this. The second is Chwinamul Muchim. It's the same idea. We're going to throw in a few other ingredients, including some delicious red peppers, and then we're going to mix it all together without frying it. Now in both instances, we're going to blanch the Chwinamul. You do want to cook this a little bit first to get the best flavor from it. Then we'll take that and we'll mix it with our ingredients. They're really easy dishes. They're great side dishes for Korea because they go with so many other types of meals that you might have. So let's begin. This is Chwinamul. Chwinamul. The correct pronunciation is Chwinamul, not Chwinamul, as I was saying in the video so far. But let's take our Chwinamul and get some ingredients. For both of these dishes, they share a couple of ingredients, and we're going to start with our Chwinamul Bokkeum. For this one, we want to prepare our leaves. Make sure you give them a quick wash. Sometimes they're dirty depending on how you buy them, but you can see they're nice and green and they're ready to cook. So what we need to do though is prepare this red pepper. Take off our seeds, get all of the seeds out. I'm going to wash them, it's easier that way. There we go. And then dice them up nice and fine. Then we're just going to take a little bit of this green onion, this dapa. You could use some other types. You've got sort of other types of green onion, or even some chives could be pretty good to put in this one. Just make sure you're cutting it very fine. This one works best with nice tiny pieces of this and not too much either. You don't want to overpower sort of the flavors from this. Just a little bit goes a long way. Look at that, perfect. The red also adds a nice bit of color to the dish, as well as a little bit of sort of sweet, sort of spicy flavors. There's our toasted sesame seeds, and we want to mix them up a little bit. Just grind them down, but not too much for this one. Now every time we put this in the water, we want to salt the water to make it more delicious for our Chwinamul. That just, brings a bit of the flavor out. And then you know it's ready when you click those bigger stems and you get your little fingers in there and give it a press, and they're nice and soft. They're ready to go. About 60 seconds should be fine though. As always, rinse it under some cold water. Whenever you're doing these Korean greens like spinach and the other ones you might have seen on the channel, the other videos, always give it a good rinse under the cold water, stop the cooking process, and then squeeze out the water as much as you can. You don't want a watery dish. There we go, nice and dry. So I'm going to give it a quick cut. Some of these pieces are quite long, so slicing it up a bit will just help with it. This is a very versatile sauce. It's simple. Garlic, oil, and a bit of sort of soy. That soy sauce will help our seasoning for this instead of using salt in the dish. You could use salt instead if you wanted though. And we're frying it up because remember, it's Chwinamul Bokkeum. So frying this up for about 90 seconds is going to get all those flavors out. It's going to take that garlic and soften it up a bit. Garlic has a very distinctive flavor, as everyone knows. So if you give it a nice fry over 90 seconds on high, you'll find that your delicious garlic will maintain its sweet garlic flavor without burning it or without having that sharp garlic flavor. And then once that's done, we're going to put on our sesame seeds and a little bit of that sliced up red pepper and green onion that we did earlier. Beautiful. That's ready to go. So put that to the side and you can have it later. You don't need to eat it hot. Just eating it like that, you can store it in the fridge, be more than fine. Now our Chwinamul Muchim is a salad, so we're not going to be frying it up later. But you still need to cook this. You just get a better flavor when you're parboiling these ones or blanching them. So there we go, boiling for 60 seconds. Get it out of there. And then once again, we're rinsing it off. So So we're following that same process, doing it in 2 different batches here. You could also obviously just do it all in 1 batch if that's easier, but for the sake of the video, let's split it all into 2. Give it a good squeeze. Here we go. Slice, slice, and make sure it's dry. Pull apart. For this one, you actually want to pull apart all those pieces because you want the sauce and flavors to mix well with everything. We've got a bit of plum extract there. That's great for a bit more added sort of flavor and sweetness. And the red pepper paste in doenjang is perfect for this. So give it a good mix up. Now, the doenjang is soybean paste. And yeah, like I said, that's absolutely necessary. This dish is made by this delicious soybean. If you've ever had that soybean paste in a soybean sort of jjigae or stew, you know how flavorful it is. But try it with a salad and you'll be amazed at the results. So I highly recommend giving this a go. Look at that, perfect. And we can throw on a bit of sesame seed as well, just to add a bit of extra crunch, a bit of crispy, sort of savory pop that the sesame seed adds to it. Perfect. Now, I do also highly recommend that you buy more Chwinamul than I did. This is not enough. This is such a small amount. I could eat this in 1 day, and in fact, I did. I did some cooking later in the day, and pretty much ended up eating both of those with the other dish that I cooked that day. So that's about 1 day's amount of food here. So cook up a little bit more than I'm cooking up here. That's what my #1 recommendation. But it does look good, so it's perfect.